T1 probably the clear favorites, am I right?
Well, G2 also pushed Gen G to 5 games. We beat T1, and then so it's like, where do we land in the whole scheme of things? Is kind of a bit up in the air. You really want to talk about it?
Yeah, where do we land in this draft? Because everything is up for the AD carries, and these bottom lanes are the best bottom lanes that we have seen in a long time. The Senna gets through for T1. Guma gets Senna. This is insane.
Yeah, well, Dagger and I just made some eye contact, and we're a bit perplexed about the lack of Senna priority.
Part of the reason why Senna is so insane for T1 is because of this, because of Keria's champions, that he gets to play with it. The fed Tom Kench down here, the farming Kench. We're starting game number 1 of T1 versus BLG with just absolute draft Armageddon here.
I actually kind of love it, though, from BLG. This is the one game where I think you're allowed to throw a bit of a wrench in, do a little bit of experimenting, see whether you can beat the Senna. Because after that, I think they have to just keep banning it, because this should be too hard.
It's also the lack of Lucian Nami that's surprising to me, because I thought that would be the higher priority here for BLG, but they really want to get this Renata, it feels like, for On. Has been a very, very strong pick for him. He's got a 71% win rate over the course of spring, but I do think this is where you're going to see if T1 are just able to manhandle off the back of what is one of the strongest picks for Gumayusi and Keria in that bottom lane.
Oh, I was actually really liking the Corki, something that we saw in the Gen G series just recently. The Callista Corki has been a really good bridge, and Faker's going to say, yeah, I kind of like that idea as well. I'm just going to pick that one on myself.
So funny how LPL Corki has turned from meme into machine at MSI. Faker going to have the Corki this time around. I'm already, like, there's already a lot of really, really good scaling and long-range damage on T1. As we turn our sights towards the jungle here, both of these mid laners looking to ban away their opponent's AD junglers. Jarvan always kind of scary there, so they don't want the full combo. Xin Zhao, of course, going to be a priority as well.
I think Cassante as well. I think both of these top laners, 100% win rate so far, most played champion in the tournament. We've heard a bit of speak about good old Cassante so far, and I think it might deserve a bit of a look here.
Well, that's the thing. If you pick Cassante as Bin, you're just opening up for a TF or something along those lines. So it looks like, at least at the moment, BLG want to try and get rid of some of those picks, knowing that more than likely T1 are going to hold off on that counter pick for Zeus in that last rotation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bane taken away here as well by BLG, setting up for that potential Cassante here for Bin.
We do know that the Zac is something that Zeus has really enjoyed as well. It was used in the playoffs quite a bit. He was sort of our guy in the LCK that did like playing it. The Wukong, though, going to be taken away from Shun, certainly something that he does love to play. So not going to be seeing it this time around. And in fact, sees a lot more bans than I would expect.
Definitely such a good team fighting jungler, wanting to take out that AoE damage for later. Let's see, are BLG also really worried about the Vayne from Zeus, or are they going to cover here? Because Cassante, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Poppy counter to the Cassante, but it doesn't seem like it's been super high priority for a lot of other teams.
I think the Poppy could just be a good lock-in just here. Then you can save that counter pick like you were talking about, Dacta, but instead, it is the priority pick on the Cassante, and at the moment in this tournament, it means win for these top laners, so you may as well pick it.
So there's two things that have had success versus Cassante, Poppy and Camille. Bin could play either of them.
What about Gwen?
But he definitely could play Gwen.
It could be Gwen, but Bin's solo queue name is also I Love Camille. So there's definitely a little bit more of an angle towards the Camille. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that locked in here if he so choosing. Could also just be the Vayne, which we did see him bring out before, but Sejuani going to be taken. I actually like the Sejuani because I think other options, Maokai, which isn't really great for the position that you're in, but there it is. The Vayne going to be taken for Bin.
I hate the Sejuani so much that everyone is ranged. Everyone is. Where's your permafrost coming from? This is it's just not it.
Yourself.
It's also, if T1 lane swap, you're kind of in a bit of a pickle here as BLG, because we've already seen Bin, when he ends up in this lane swap scenario against PSG Talon, it did not look good for the Vayne. They didn't really know what to do with them. And if you're in a Cassante, you're going to be fine. Your Senna and Tam Kench, you're going to be fine to start doing what they want as well, even unlocking Gumayusi early to start playing around the map. So this may not be standard lanes for T1.
Yeah, it's interesting how the Vayne in lane swaps, everybody has started doing the, 2v1 mid basically, where you try and zone off the enemy mid laner. I guess, trying to keep Corki back a little bit would do that, but then you also soak experience from your mid laner and delay Talia's level 6, which which is a little bit rough. So we'll see if they end up going for it.
Yeah, we've seen Gen G be somewhat successful with the Vayne lane swaps, but T1 haven't really been swapping very much at all so far this tournament. They do generally just really like standard lanes, but I think that if they're ever going to swap, it is in this game. This is the one where you want to avoid it as much as possible, and we'll see whether they do have that string to their bow in this matchup, because I think they might need it, especially being able to have that extra flexibility. But gentlemen, it is time to get into game number 1. Still in the upper bracket here, neither of these teams will be eliminated, but getting into the upper bracket final, absolutely massive.
I'm curious to see how T1 are going to play this one out. Little engage on their side, very much kind of playing to absorb the initial pressure coming through from BLG. So if BLG take it slow and don't overextend, there is a chance that maybe they can crawl out. But as you already alluded to, the amount of range that you have here with the Senna and the Corki, being able to poke out BLG, that's really where BLG have to find some way to dissuade that.
I think it's about the Corki, because if you don't have any engage, it's fine, because you've got all of the range, and you just don't want to engage. You just want to throw rockets as many times as you can. But here we are, onto the Rift for game number 1 of this best of 5. Last time these two teams met, it was T1, but earlier that year, it was BLG. We'll see whether it's going to be a switcheroo or whether it's going to be success once again for T1.
Yeah, it's been so fun following the stories of these two titans in International League of Legends. And with BLG getting Knight on the team here as well, you know, they pick up one of the defending MSI champions from last year. Both of them were able to defeat T1 at that tournament, of course, Knight when he was on JDG, as well as every single one of these other players from BLG. But of course, T1, they ran the entire LPL side of Worlds brackets to become champions themselves. So now we're in part 3 and see if the LPL can get their revenge at MSI, which has historically been their tournament. The LPL's to lose.
Yeah, a lot of people were heartbroken to see that JDG roster split up. We're really hoping we get another round this year, but not to be. And now it's BLG picking up Knight, saying, hang on a second, we can finally get one over JDG, and now they are the top dogs. And now invading on towards Oner as well, really trying to put the hurt on him and make him uncomfortable in this lane swap.
Yep, you can see, like you mentioned, lane swap has actually come through. Been doing that Vayne thing where you come around and you try and bully out the enemy mid laner, but they've also got the bottom lane involved.
Yeah, and both junglers are taking away camps from the lane swap side of the opponents. It's BLG harassing even more here.
Yeah, Bin is ghosting in. He just wants to get Oner out of here. Tumbling forward, Oner taking a fair bit of damage as he does make it back to his inner turret, but he is he's been removed from that side of the map.
It's a huge win because of it. The fact you get Oner out of that side means that you've got more camps there for Shun, who's managed to take out all 3 on the opposite side of the map. So now, having been there, it means that they can start to get more experience for Shun. They can spend longer on this bottom side. Zeus is trying to sneak into lane here, but I think this is going to be a dive as soon as he shows his face on that bottom end.
Getting a little bit worrisome. T1 do manage to at least get that free lane towards top side.
I think next thing we should have Sejuani cross over and finish up these other 2 camps here because of the hard work that Bin and On put in, chasing Oner out of their blue quadrant of the jungle. And he's heading over to the bottom side now. Looks like they're heading up. Senna here waiting, and they want to pull a trap themselves.
Yeah, Keria has teleported in here as Zeus and Gumayusi coming on down to 3v3 for now, but already Keria's taking so much damage. Eats the grey health is On, taken down to 200. And T1 have at least wrestled some control and do get to take this experience.
They will get the experience, and the problem is, as you look at the top side, BLG bet to lose this massive wave. No TP on Bin means that he won't be able to collect that. So you are getting Shun with some experience advantage, being able to get the camps at least here, as he will be able to smite this one away. But you're getting Vayne very far behind versus Zeus, who's already hit that level 2 spot.
Meanwhile, Oner here is at least going to be able to pick up his Gromp, so the only thing really stolen away from their side was the blue buff. Not too bad for him. He can just go up to Raptors and get topside Scuttle Crab, probably.
Yep. Faker doing the walk strategy to avoid the seismic shove, something that we've spoken about a lot in the LCK.
It's a good, it's good ability.
It's pretty good.
And BLG are going to drop this top wave at the moment, though. You saw that Elk had started to move up towards that top half of the map, but instead they're trying to force these 2v2 lanes, so immediately going to move Elkanon back down towards this bottom side. But we'll need Shun to come up here because the wave in a bit of an awkward spot for them. So I think they'll need Shun to help them get control there to force the bounce back.
Actually kind of working out well. If you have a look at the top of your screen, T1 in about a 100 gold advantage or something like that, but did with that big wave being missed by the... Oh, no. The corpse of the cannon flew up into the air.
You know, as soon as...
Oh, Faker going to get pulled back! And that is first blood going tonight, and it's a solo kill!
The golden left hand coming up clutch for BLG. There was so much movement on the map, we forgot about the mid lane. And just like that, Knight able to pick up one against the Demon King.
Huge mistake from Faker here. Faker with no flash, no teleport, and Knight the early lead.
Valkyrying over some rocks. It's not what you want to be doing. Faker immediately teleports back to the wave, so at least won't miss out on any CS, but this is a great start for BLG.
It's interesting because of the desync on the camps there, Oner actually steals away Gromp, and so Shun is coming out to top side of the map, but not going to be a lot there for him, so wastes a little bit of time before he realizes and is going to correct course down to the bottom half of the map.
I'm starting to get a little bit nervous for Faker, though. I mean, Cap solo kills him twice, now having this solo kill by Knight as well. It feels like Faker's laning phase has just not really been up to par from what we've seen thus far at MSI, and flying straight over the rocks into the flick back. It's a great pickup from Knight there.
To me, the worst part is the flash afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was really good placement by Knight, pushing Faker into that kind of corner, but then to also use your flash and Knight gets the auto off and gets the kill there, that is insane advantage.
Well, BLG now pushing forward here towards the bottom side. Guma does slink down into the mist, but Shun's making his way in. Arctic Assault is going to find the center, and there's the Weaver's Wall as well. They take down Gumayusi, and there's the flick onto Keria as well, but Oner is there with the stab. Finally, they take down the Tom Kenshin. A 2-for-1. BLG will take it.
BLG added Knight to the roster, and he is destroying T1 here. The roam down to the bottom side. They get even more. The cannon dies to the tower. Elk is zoning them off. BLG came to play here at MSI.
If the rumors of BLG's death have been greatly exaggerated. BLG looking great here against T1. You can already see the movement here. Elk and On go hyper-aggressive, knowing that Knight has already got the move in mid. The mistake from On was using the bailout already, but back to life.
Yeah, in the meantime, that is going to be the handshake on top of the rocks. There is the seismic shove, and Faker is just going to try and deal with the wave. He knew that he was dead.
There's a reason this was one of the most hyped up roster moves of all time here. Knight being added to the roster, and it just looks like BLG are going to slaughter them in game number 1.
At least in the early game. Currently a 1,000 gold advantage. And T1, I mean, we don't like using the scaling word necessarily, and T1 are not a team that generally draft for scaling, but they do have a lot of it in this particular game. So if you are a T1 fan, maybe not completely over yet, especially if Zeus is going to have a good time here towards the top side, going all out, does get condemned into the alcove. So Bin should be able to create enough distance to avoid getting solo killed.
You can see that Bin wanted to go back for the cannon, but going to have to give that one up. Instead, he's going to join for the Void Grubs to get that, as T1 will trade for the Dragon on the bottom side. So T1 at least getting a nice Hextech Dragon for themselves, but I think the big factor is going to be Knight getting his early lead, being able to control that mid lane, starting to look for more roams as this Weaver's Wall comes up, and Faker trying to beat him to the punch here, at least leaning towards this bottom side, but I don't really think he can dive or do anything here for the bot side.
Yeah, T1 are notoriously hard to finish games against, so definitely a very good point to bring up, Atlas, especially when you do have Guma on the Senna and Faker continuously scaling on Corki.
Well,
but
he might be dead yet again. There's the flash handshake to come out from On as Guma. He's trying to get out of there, but I don't know whether it's going to work out as Elk is just dashing behind him, finds the pierce, and he just explodes. Keria, he has to flash to get on out of there, but this 2v2 is all BLG.
This is the best bot lane in the LPL, and they are showing up against Gumayusi and Keria. You got a little taste from Jackie Lovamako, but BLG are the real champions of the LPL.
think about what this can do for the entire series draft as well. BLG, they're not afraid of the Senna that is so frequently banned against T1, and people are so scared of giving to them. If you let them have it in the opening game, and then are able to crush it. Look at On, flashes in for the handshake here, says you're not going to get away, you're against the wall, and Elk will chase you down. He flashes away from the Tahm Kench knock up. He knows he's got enough spears for the Rend.
And the thing is, usually you do talk about what Kobe was saying. The fact that T1 have this comeback potential, they are so clutch, but look at the playmaking that they really have on their side. It's not a huge amount. This is a squad that wanted to play from an even or even a position where they're ahead, to look for poke, to try and set up on objectives early. But with how well BLG are doing, it's going to become very, very difficult for T1 to have any sort of control.
Yeah, and this is going to be the big test for T1, because as Kobe was saying, I mean, it is a team that is difficult to close games against. But right now, BLG have started off exactly the way they need to. Faker clears out that minion wave, but he'll have to go back home. Teleport at the ready. Just have to see what these first few skirmishes are going to look like, because if BLG put the screws in, if this gold lead only extends as we go further on, it's going to be so difficult for T1 to make any sort of moves. And like what you were saying, as far as what the draft means moving further forward in the series, could be a disaster for T1.
You're looking at some of the cards that T1 have pulled out when they are behind in games. It's very early on to talk about them, but the classic Baron Rush.
Faker.
Yeah, well, Faker's just going to face check, put in prison here, and the wall is set up behind him. There's the Flash Valkyrie, using him in the right order this time around, but he's still dead. The rocks are thrown at him, and there goes the Corki for the third time.
Oh, Knight is just demolishing the GOAT in mid lane right now. Another rock, another death for Faker. Mid lane is blown wide open, and that means he can push on turret plates while bottom keeps up the pressure with no fear of a collapse. They even call over Shun here for the extra vision. Look at this blue quadrant of T1's jungle. It is lit up. There is no way that T1 can really supply resources to bail out Guma and Keria.
And Knight really has been the kingmaker for so many teams in the LPL. Starts off on top esports, gets their first ever championship for themselves, then moves over to JDG, manages to flip the script and get another one, but now in boss.
In goes Keria, looks for an opportunity here on to Elk. The bailout should be there, but the Devour is as well. Elk, he is going to get taken down, not going to be able to trade back. Keria doesn't even need to eat the gray health, and T1 are on the board in the bottom lane.
Okay, they got the resources down bottom to bail them out, but top side.
Bit of a trade here is now the all-out just going to pull in the special delivery piggy, and Zeus going to be able to survive.
Huge move there as Oner.
In the meantime,
okay,
there's a little bit more that happened towards the bottom side of the map, but once again, Faker in trouble. Knight taking a little bit back with that phosphorus bomb, but I think that he's absolutely fine with how this mid lane is going. Already a couple of plates being removed.
Gotta compliment Oner though. His jungle is lit up with all these wards, so he goes down through the lane to bottom side, and Keria's able to help him, get the play there with the lane gank. That was so necessary for T1, because BLG still going to take away the rest of the Void Grubs, and that will be 6 Grubs that will help them out. But here it is. Oner with the lane gank to avoid the vision. Keria with his famous Tahm Kench starts it out, and they actually get a kill down here onto Elk.
A brilliant knock-up coming through from Keria to start that one out, and there's just nothing you can do as BLG, and the follow-up then from Oner as well, knowing that he'd be able to get on 2. That's 2 kills now with the Kraken Slayer completed for Oner. He's in a great spot, and if he can start to play around bot side once more here, maybe they can go again.
Well, it's going to be the turret going down. That is going to be first brick going over to BLG. Bit of extra money in the coffers, definitely good thing. 2.2k now that score. Like you were saying, Oner is here. But On still looking for some opportunities. Not going to get snared up by the center here as we're just trading back vision as much as possible. Knight and Elk with the most gold in the game, as we saw just there, is now Faker with the package at the ready. Avoids everything, or everything misses. Package going to get delivered as the Drake now being considered by T1. Snare connects onto Shun, but he is still in this fight, at least for the moment. Maybe getting a lot of damages. There is a huge burrow right on top of BLG and T1. I think we may have started counting him out too early, as Oner hopping around this fight as his version of a Callista, and they'll take a Drake.
The unseen catfish is the deadliest. Keria from the Dragon Pit, and the Abyssal Voyage sends BLG packing. That is going to be T1 bouncing back. They're going to pick up the Dragon afterwards, and they have recovered.
Brilliant read from T1 as well. On had already used that big ultimate in that last fight on bot side, so they were counting down the timer saying, "Yous don't have it." And when the Sejuani ult goes wide as well, Faker turns it on. He says, "We have the tools we need to follow this up." And with this, Keria beautifully executed knock-up on so many members of BLG here, and now Bin in trouble on top side.
Yeah, Keria is now ganking. He's like, well, I want to fight in the river. Let's see whether I can get another one, as Bin is going to ghost and use that final hour to make sure that he is able to get away. But that is Summoner Spells and Ultimate now down.
It's always so cool to watch how T1 will protect their members, and even if someone is making mistakes, like Faker was in the early game, he still stands up in that dragon fight. He avoids the Sejuani ult, then has a big package to start up the fight, and the rest of Team 1 pick up the slack. Keria really doing a lot of work for this team.
This might be a bridge too far here for Zeus, who is going to have to try and get something done to get out of here. Has ghosted, has made it underneath the turret, but there's the flash forward. He is going to get stunned to the wall with the condemn, and there's the kill going over to On. 4 members going to be enough to deal with the Cassante here, and they should also be able to grab a second turret for themselves.
Just a question of how far do they want to keep going. Bin going to reset to try and move on down to the bot side, but Faker should be able to respond with the turret himself. So T1 at least only losing out on what is just a kill, but still BLG stepping up on this top side. They have the Rift Herald in tow, but I think they want to try and keep that for mid and a potential dragon in 3 minutes time.
And Oner's the only one here picking up these.
Oh dear, there's a Glacial Prison. And yep, he's normally a pretty slippery champion, but it's not going to work out there. Tries to Heartbreaker, but he's the only one getting heartbroken here. And T1 loses their jungler.
That was a rough one there for T1. Oner was the one with the bounty on his head. Oner was the one getting a lot of these kills and soaking up the farm there. BLG, they lie in wait in the fog of war, they strike again, and they want to continue this snowball. Now, with all the extra vision that they left up on this top side becomes very scary for T1 to play. Faker, of course, he is at least Corki, has his W, has his flash available, but that tower being down and all the extra vision for BLG does allow them some really strong side lane options here. They're the ones with the Vayne that they could put in the side lane. They're the ones with the Talia ultimate that is ready to make the cross-map play.
The Rift Herald, though, I don't think was supposed to go down this soon. They don't really have their lanes in any sort of shape, and you can see oh no, T1 going to be able to move across, and the charge is now gone, but the tower may just fall regardless.
Yeah, it's just gone anyway. Might get another charge, but it looks like T1 should be able to stop Shelly from getting anything done. Another Abyssal Dive just to make sure that she is bouncing around.
New Herald is best change to the game that they've added in a long time.
The ability to mess it up. That's what we need.
We have some people that need their licenses revoked in the LCK. There's in fact maybe one of them in this game as well, as another Abyssal Dive does come on down from Keria, but he's kind of trolled a little bit by the Blast Cone.
It was a nice attempt, trying to get On knocked back by the Blast Cone, maybe get him over the wall and you can finish him off, but not quite. And now BLG setting up once more, T1 spotting them. BLG just trying to get control over this bot side because they know they have a stronger 1-3-1. If they can continue to keep this pressure for Bin, he can start to chip away at these turrets on bottom side.
Yeah, now we need to calm down a little bit. BLG need to extend the open map play here. Make use of your split push, make use of your Talia ultimate here, looking for these picks, keep the pressure up on T1. Because as Alice brought up, this is such a hard team to pin down, and they can rely on Faker and Guma later on into the game as the stacks accrue here for the Senna, as the Corki starts to accrue items.
And as G2 learned as well, you got to be very careful about where T1 plays their vision, because they will always try and find some ward in behind you, some way to get Faker with a package in behind the back line, something to bring them back into this game. So BLG going to have to be clinical in how they close this one out.
And I'm looking specifically at Knight here. He has been so good this game. His Seraphs has evolved already.
Oh, Glacial Prison going to be avoided there by Keria, utilizing the walk. That time has to flash, though. As Oner dashes forward, Shun just absorbing as much as he can. All 5 members of T1 grouped up, though, ready to get this siege going on. 35 seconds on the Drake is probably why we're seeing a bit of an ARAM.
They really want to prevent Faker from resetting. They'll have the package in base and that teleport to come out. So BLG trying to play aggressive on the wave.
Nice with the big shot. It's going to find Gumayusi. He's just going to have to get devoured. A huge resource now just taken away from T1.
To be Dragon at least there. I mean, that's so much health off of Guma, and not having the Tahm Kench flash or ultimate for Keria here. I think BLG have won themselves a stop to the Dragon stacking from T1. Knight again comes up huge, but the package teleport from Faker is used to the top side of the map, so they're going to trade an objective at least.
Q not going to find the mark there. Neither does the handshake, though, as Zeus does get under his inner turret. Faker heads towards that top side, like you were talking about, and so just trying to get as much money as possible. And I think T1 are probably pretty happy that they managed to get the first 2 Drakes this game, because this is a Corki composition. One, getting the first Drake, generally hard. You don't have the package available for that one. The second one, far more possible, something that they were able to do by winning a team fight. And this one, don't necessarily need to get it. They're happy for the game to extend.
This is going to get more difficult for T1, though. The problem is Knight very far ahead of Faker in the side lane. Going to be tough for him to really try and counteract the push that Knight has. And now with Bin being able to pick up a sizable gold lead, 1.5k for himself, he's going to be able to push in on bot side relatively easily and give a lot of control for BLG to push mid into a potential play on top. And once you start to lose control of topside jungle, Baron becomes available for BLG. So I think a lot of T1 is going to be trying to pick off members of BLG as they enter into their topside jungle and see if they can find BLG T-Sinks, because BLG haven't been the best side lane team in the LPL.
See what they can get done here as Shun back into his jungle, just trying to get a bit of money here. And T1 at least allowed back towards the mid lane. They need to start trying to break open this outer turret in mid, though, because this map is getting smaller and smaller for T1. As Knight taking a little bit of poke damage here. That big one would have really hurt, so thankfully he's able to avoid it. T1 trying to pressure forward.
They're going for it. The teleport play here with the Taliyah. Bin is close to his Trinity Force as well. Bin's got a lot of money if they can kill Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus gonna have to try and find that all-out angle. Let's see whether he can get out of this one. Just dashes. All right, that's how you do it. You just press ghost and run. Fine.
Yeah, it turns out if you're really quick, it helps in trying to get away from a Taliyah who has no setup. So nicely done there by Zeus to escape, and it's just a teleport burnt by BLG.
I already can see the chat, you know, everybody complaining about Cassante. People have been complaining about Ghost for a while as well, so the combination of the two allowing Zeus...
it's really funny that people complain about Ghost and not Flash, which is...
We've had like so many years of complaining about Flash. It's just not in vogue anymore, dude. I don't think you're allowed to.
Because Flash is a given now. People are like, if you take away my Flash, don't you dare touch my Flash. That's a given. Everybody will have that one.
When are we going to get to the point where we just give Flash to everyone and you can choose 2 other summoner spells?
It's actually now, you actually cannot choose to not select Flash. I don't know if you've tried.
Oh, well. Zeus is straight up cheating, as we can see. But he is Cassante, so I guess half of his kit is Flash. So it's fine. All right, T1 still without any control of this Baron area. Some wards that have been turned off, and now, speaking of getting turned off, Oner is out of there. Things went black and white for him, unfortunately, and that is going to be Knight collecting another one. They also might augment this with a purple buff, as T1 now trying to get in there, trying to stop this from happening. This could be disaster, could really break open the game. BLG down to 50% health on this Baron. The Weaver's Law comes through as Zeus, he wants to try and get over that. Now Faker off to the side on a bit of a flank angle. Decent amount of damage can be done here, and that is going to be the Baron secured by BLG. Just beautifully played. Kill the jungler, take the purple worm, and now start closing out this game.
Nice patience there from BLG, just waiting until you make that one misstep from Oner, doesn't end up sweeping the brush, and immediately they get the Baron, and now this 1-3-1 only becomes even more difficult to deal with as T1.
Yep, some wards turned off, but not the critical ones. That one is going to mean death. On flashes to follow the seismic shove with his handshake, so there is 0 time for Oner. He goes down, and instantly BLG, this team is so good, they're so quick, and their end game here in playing out the side lanes is so easy to execute. Bin, we mentioned the lead that he has on this Vayne. The Trinity Force is complete. He is a monster. They can continue to put that pressure on the side lanes, close in on your jungle, take away any space that T1 have to get any sort of jungle camps for themselves. And now you have to worry too, is there a ward in every single brush? Am I instantly going to get jumped on here? As BLG, they keep up the pressure. They pin T1 on their own side of the map.
Yep, 33 seconds until the second Infernal Drake of the game, as well as wards getting thrown down here. Control Ward at least some vision in this little pathway between top and mid lane. The Dragon's certainly something that BLG can just head back to and take for free, but T1 trying to hold on to all of their inner turrets here. This one is going to go down. BLG with good pressure in multiple lanes. Now Bin not going to push any further forward. This is a little bit of a dangerous spot as he does get interrupted. Zeus getting that wraparound. Final hour does come on through. As now just looking to turn it onto Faker. Is this going to be the 1v2 as the all-out does come through? There's the pullback, and now Bin is so fast. He just kills Faker. Can he get out is the question. The answer is, does he even want to? Gumayusi coming around, and I think he will be shut down, but a 1-for-1, you take those.
Everyone at T1 was needed to take down Bin, and he still gets a kill. This guy is a monster. The shadow boxing into hitting hard for the BLG top laner.
And now this inhibitor should follow as well as Keria. So many sticks in him as Oner trying to get himself out of there. Thankfully, Keria is pretty tanky with the fact that he's the one that's been farming, but this inhibitor not long for the world. And BLG, they grab themselves their second dragon, and I reckon that Red Bull Baron power play feels pretty good.
And this is why BLG were terrifying in the LPL. They get these leads and they do not let up. Looking for these picks, looking for these plays, and Bin, this was immaculately done. Turns on towards Faker with the invisibility, and even though Zeus brings in one direction, flashing away from the phosphorus bomb keeps his health up and makes sure that he can finish off the Corki. Nearly turning on to Oner as well, but eventually Gumayusi says enough of this as he shows up to wrangle him into position.
They had to use absolutely everything to take him down there, so T1 just getting stretched a little bit too thin. The Baron buff has worn off. 2.5 minutes until we do get the next round of those. And a 6,000 gold lead here for BLG. But I think it's the map lead that really is the backbreaker for T1. They just cannot get out and start any of these team fights. They can't get BLG into a position where any of this poke means anything.
100%. The map does not get easier to play for T1. The side lanes do not get easier. Even your own jungle has been taken over here. BLG, they return. Knight cuts them off with a bit of a wall.
Well, Keria actually going aggressive there. Not sure about that one as now hostile takeover comes on in. Both tanks just doing battle, and Bin puts Keria in the ground. Zeus not looking as tanky as he has in some of the other games here at MSI. The inner turret is going to be taken down. BLG, just a couple of turrets standing beside the Nexus for them to get rid of. They're going to start with this top lane inhibitor turret as Oner on that flank angle teleport to come in as well. Shun down to 50% as now Zeus thinks he may have found an angle here. The flash forward from Gumayusi doesn't manage to find the snare, and neither does Zeus. The all-out comes on through. Faker delivers a package to the backline and gets rid of Knight. Could this be the team fight they're looking for? Faker, he goes down, but I think they're just too big, and Elf is ripping them apart, rendered down. And I think that's the last gasp for T1 in Game 1.
The speed up would not be enough for Elk to get the quadra kill, but the BLG bot lane has come alive finally in this game. T1 thought they could fight the 4 versus 5, but they were sadly mistaken.
It's closing in around T1. That is 2 inhibitors down. On gets slowed, but Bin has arrived to the party as well. He's got a bottom minion wave to work with, and that tower doesn't stand a chance.
Yep, looks like we're going full tutorial here, gentlemen. Taking down all of these inhibitors before we get to work on the Nexus. T1, I don't think they're going to be able to stop this. Multiple super minions coming in now. And yeah, I think just run away from Bin is going to be the rule until you can get him into another game. This one, I wouldn't try to fight him.
Monstrous stuff this game for BLG to open the series this way. Let's take a look at this team fight again, though, because this was T1's hope. The teleport in from Zeus. They know they've got package timing here for Faker. So Guma tried to flash at Knight. It didn't quite have the range, but then Knight flashes afterwards away from the Q, and Faker hits him with the package. That gets the 1,000 gold shutdown, but the Callista is still hitting. Zeus tries to go in and get the triple knockup, but he was unable to get Elk with that knockup, and Elk's just gonna mow them down. This bottom lane for BLG. They were so confident, they let Guma have the Senna, and they punished it as well. On his Renata, flashing in for handshakes in lane, really bullying them there. And then, of course, the mid lane difference that we saw, Knight over Faker. Obviously a huge factor as Sun's having a little fun in the jungle.
Yep, not really taking too much damage here, but he's going to be able to interrupt Zeus on his attempted way out. And now 1 versus 5. I don't think that one's going to be winnable there, Zeus. As BLG, they're teleporting. They're trying to finish this one off right now. Knight heads towards that bottom lane. Keria there to try and meet the wave. Night is so incredibly frightening. 4 versus 5 here. Only 2 turrets remain here for T1 as they're looking to desperately hold on. It feels so hopeless as the hostile takeover is gigantic. There's another handshake from Oner. He is just so good at this champion. Gumayusi is going to get flattened, and T1 going to get pulled out of their fountain. Keria, not enough grey health to go through here as he will be rendered where he stands. And there goes the Nexus on Game 1.